Hello, social media friends. I'm Viridiana Marquez with DRB Media Communications Digital News, and Danny Barrera has the story.
U.S. Texas Senator John Cornyn visited the West Texas Food Bank in Midland on Monday, August 17th, to help food bank volunteers box non-perishable food items that will help the elderly and needy families of the 19 counties the West Texas Food Bank serves, and to talk about the benefits of the CARES Act to the city of Midland.
In March, when we passed the CARES Act, we knew we had to provide for our frontline healthcare workers things like personal protective equipment, like you're wearing. We're all wearing PPE now, but that especially was necessary for the doctors and nurses that dealt with the patients that were coming to their hospitals. They were the ultimate essential workforce. But then it was the grocery clerks. It was literally the food banks. It was trying to get food from the producers to individual consumer tables, and obviously the ability of people to pay for it in their local grocery store was much diminished, and thus, as Libby said, the volume of food that you've been delivering here at the West Texas Food Bank has roughly tripled.
Midland City Council member Spencer ROBNETT and Midland Memorial Hospital President and CEO Russell Myers presented updates as to how the CARES Act benefited the city of Midland and the hospital.
The total CARES Act funding for the city of Midland was nearly $8 million, and there's some things over here to my right that you'll see that we're going to spend some money on. Then another thing that I think council will move on shortly, and really our focus with those funds, Senator, is on health and public safety. Those two things. That means that in our 2021 upcoming budget, we didn't have to make some hard decisions about pay cuts for our first responders. That means that all of our police officers and all of our firefighters will receive pay progressions and raises in the upcoming budget year, which is a big thing right now. And there's a lot of controversy over police departments across the nation. Ours doesn't have one, and we'll use some of those funds to directly offset 30% drop in sales tax revenue year over year because of the pandemic and the drop in the oil and gas business. So thank you for that.
But the CARES Act funding, more than anything else, has put us in a position to replace the tremendous amount of lost revenue we've experienced as we didn't do any elective surgery for almost 2 months. We put off elective radiology procedures and endoscopy and all the things that pay the bills. That $17 million in CARES Act funding is pretty close to the amount of revenue that we lost over the early period of the COVID crisis.
As part of the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program, the USDA is exercising authority under the Families First Coronavirus Act to purchase and distribute agricultural products to those in need.
Our farmers, our ranchers, our producers, it's frequently a tough time for them because there are things they can't control, like the weather and the like. But I would say that despite the fall off in demand for some things like cotton and others, that food supply has been one of the great success stories, getting it from the producers to the consumer who needs it. And of course, we've worked, as Libby pointed out, with this program to try to make it even more streamlined and more efficient because we know the demand and the need is so urgent.
These boxes have everything from dairy and fresh produce in them, and they are helping meet the need of not only us being able to increase the amount of food we're having to hand out to our communities, but the lack of our volunteer support, because it's coming to us basically from truck to trunk.
Senator John Cornyn, along with Libby Campbell, Executive Director of the West Texas Food Bank, gave a brief tour of the Midland facility and viewed the expansion plans for the food bank. For DRB Media Communications Digital News, Danny Barrera.
Thank you for following us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, also at DannyVisionEntertainment.com. For DRB Media Communications Digital News, Viridiana Marquez.